So this is my domain controller. I'm going to go ahead and install Windows 7. I'll come over here, and you can download your Windows 7 ISO from DreamSpark. Everybody here have access to that. If you do not, let me know. But I've created an account for everybody. So, common mistake. Watch this. By default is Windows 7 Home Basic. You're going to have problem if you don't pay attention to this one. Drop it down and select 7 Professional. Okay? That's a common mistake people often make. Don't make that mistake. So, I'm going to create a user called admin. And I'm going to just go ahead and let's call this one client 1. Alright? I don't need much to run on this. Just want to kind of show this as a demonstration. And I'm going to make sure they're in the same domain, the same network with my domain controller. If you do not configure that, you will pay for that mistake a little bit later. I'm going to customize the hardware, make sure the network is in the same network where my domain controller is located. Go to finish, and it's going to create a disk, and then it's going to install Windows 7. Once the Windows 7 is configured, I'm going to set it up to join the domain, just like we've done in the previous Windows. But then I'm going to do some other stuff that I've not done, which is mostly about securing this Windows client that is on the domain controller. So we'll wait for this thing to get started, and then we'll continue with the other stuff. We'll come back to that once it's done.
Do you grade the lab on test out, or is that like automatic?
I do grading.
You do?
Alright, so I'm going to flip to the other one here. So security example, going forward to conform with procedural rules. All these are. You guys want to take a 5 minutes break?
Sure.
Let's take 5 minutes break. Yeah, no, that's fine. So this is my Windows 7. Going to log in there. And as you can see, it's very similar to what we did on the other system. I'm going to type my CMD here, type my IP config. So I've gotten my IP address. So the next thing I'm going to do here is to join it to the domain. So, but before I do that, remember what I always tell you, change the machine name. I'm going to call this one client 1, and I'm going to try and restart. One thing I always want to check, every time I install my VM, I want to make sure my VMware is installed. It looks like it's already there because it's giving me something to reinstall. So then I would go ahead and restart this guy. And once it's restarted, then I will go ahead and join it to the domain. Then I'll walk you through setting this security policy, and we should be out of here. But while that one is working, let's go over into this device security. for the most part, what you're doing over here, this can be a problem. More and more, it's becoming less and less of a problem in terms of device security configuration. Here are the exceptions. Number one exception, this thing is back up online so I can put it back there. So now I go here and I will go to properties. And I go over here, go to Shane, and Perkins is the administrator. The process of joining the domain, whether client or server, is pretty much the same thing. Let's join the domain. Close, and I'll ask you to restart now. In the meantime, because I'm about to do something that I don't want to necessarily keep, normally what I would do is to save the setting of my server. I'll just save it, but if I don't care, I'll just leave it. Go over to my control, delete here. And I can have something here. If I go to tools on my domain controller, so I use it on computer. See, you can see client 1 now. Now you guys join the domain, so I can manage it. Alright? The first thing I want to show you, before I go too further here, I'm going to see if I can cross this thing here. If you look over here, here's my on the server. I'm going to minimize the server here. We'll go back to this one a little bit later. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to switch and log on, because this is local system. I'm going to log on to the domain now, and I'm going to say Perkins / okay. Let me see if I can create a user. I'm not sure if I have any user created over here. I think we created some user, didn't we? Okay, let's create a user here. Let's right click here. I'm going to call this one new. Let's call it user. Let's call it John, okay? John King. So that's the username. And I'm going to say password never expire. Give it capital P at W0RD. Capital P at W0RD. Okay? And it's just going to be a domain user. That's the guy. I'm going to now go over here on the client side and log on as jking, capital P at W0RD. Because I'm on the domain, I can use the credential that I created on the domain controller to log on to this system. But that's not where we're really going here. There are certain things that I'm going to show you that will kind of allow you to see various ways in which you can configure security on your devices. This guy here is a regular user, so he's probably going to have some limitations. But let's test limit. Go over here and go to hard and remove snapping. And here is where I want to go. I want to go to security template and security configurations. Okay? So, in the previous version of Windows, generally we have security template, but right now there's nothing there anymore. But here you can actually create new one, create new template. Let's call this one test. Okay? Click OK. Now I have security template. And I can configure those security templates. I can say my password policy now. Password, remember the last 3 password, apply. Minimum password age, I can say make it be 30 days. Okay? Password will expire in 30 days. Okay? After 30 days, you got to change your password. That's pretty, I can say okay here. Okay? So you have 30 days here. Minimum password can be changed after 29, which is kind of consistent because these affect that, right? If this is the maximum password age, right? This is the maximum, then you have minimum password age, which means you only have 1 day. This kind of really force you. Don't have a lot of windows. So minimum password length, I can say 12. Right? Password more miss complexity rule, you can enable that. Let's leave that alone. And then password store using blah blah. Let's leave this one. Account policy. And after 30 minutes, I'm going to set it up. And this is showing me my default account lockout threshold. 5 invalid logons. I can tell you know what? Make it 3. Okay? Kerberos. I can do a lot of other stuff over here, but let's not do much over here. Go to local policy. I can go to user right, and I can say allow logon locally. Okay? And I can say domain user. Okay? So the main user is allowed to log on locally. Apply it over there. Okay? So now you realize something that I couldn't save over here. Why do you think I couldn't do that? Let me show you something here. Domain. I go to check name. Domain user. When I click OK here and I click OK here, when I click apply, see, it said I couldn't because by enabling the policy, I'm excluding the administrator. And it said I must do this. So I go back there and I can say admin and I go to check name. So and I can say administrator, whatever. Click apply now. You can see. Okay. So there are several other stuff I can do. I can say create a page file, change the time zone. Can even say only this person can change the time zone, and so on and so forth. See, a lot of things here. What about security options? I have a ton of stuff I can do over here. Okay? So, you will be tested on this in your midterm when I ask you to harden an operating system. Okay? What other stuff can I do? I can do event log. Retain logs and so on and so forth. Again, for 7 days, I can do that. What about restricted group? You're not added to that. What about services? This is even more interesting. I can, as a matter of fact, configure an individual not to be able to do certain things. For example, parental control. I can enable parental control. And I can say automatic, edit, and so on and so forth. So you can see some of the stuff that I'm configuring over on this system. I can deal with printer, do desktop, a secondary logon. So many things here are available. Windows time, Windows search that I can do. What about registry? I can deliberately create some registry key, add some keys here. And once I set all of these things up now, okay, The next thing I can do here, look on the screen, right click this guy. Be careful here now. Be very, very careful. I can open database. And here, I can just call it test. I think I called mine test, right? Here the test that I created earlier on. Open. Set assets is defined. Why do you think assets is defined denied over here? Anybody have an idea for me?
Are you admin? Are you the?
I'm not admin. Why do you think assets is denied here? See, we have a test here. That's very, very cool. Even if I save it, if I come over here, when I come open database and I say test whatever, and I open, give me this, and it said import access is denied. Want to log on and try as an administrator? Let's try. Another thing, let me show you this. If you know you're going to use this console quite a bit, just save it up here on your desktop once and for all, so you don't have to navigate through this point again. The problem with this is if I put it on my desktop, what's going to happen when I log in as another user? I won't find it again. So if you know you want every user to see it, you might probably put it on your drive C. If it will let you. If you continue, it's going to see you're not an administrator, right? It's asking you log in as an administrator. Does that make any sense? Let me show you something else. You could actually do this and run as an administrator here. And come over here and say administrator, have to be W0RD. And now you're running this as an administrator. Say you open this thing, go to T, and you can just open. It's going to show you the only one you have here. Test. Now, when I run this thing, it said, but there's no file right here, right? Because I didn't create the other file. Run the same thing we did earlier on. Go over here. Go to this one. Do you see anything here anymore? No, because I'm logging on as a different user now. Okay? Right click this and go to new template. I'm doing this for you so you can see, so when you run into any issues, you will remember quickly, so you don't get unnecessarily top. I'm going to accept a lot of defaults here because I want to quickly do this so you could see what is this we'll get. And I'm going to just say 23 days. Click OK, that's fine. Define this, enable, that's okay. Logon policy, audit, logon event, define success, user right, allow logon locally, go to user here, admin, use your check name to help you, and I can just select everybody here, click OK, apply. Alright, so then click select this one and right click and open the database. So test, open, you see that? That's the one you create. And was I able to upload it now? To import it? Yes. Everybody get that? So if you get stuck, what is the first thing you want to make sure you do? Make sure you're logging on as an administrator or run this as an administrator. Don't log on as an administrator, just log that one. Now here is the place I don't want you to make mistake. When you right click here, see you have two options here, analyze or configure. If you configure, it will apply this new setting. So don't do that. Come over here and say analyze. What it will do here is it will compare these templates with your existing template. You understand? So then you can come over here and one by one begin to compare the difference. Okay? So it's telling you here is your computer setting and here's what you have here. You see what I'm getting now? So it's telling me this is what I have. I'm coming over here, sorry, here. Go to the next one here. It's telling me this is what you have in your database. that this machine is currently not configured. But this is what I have in my new, template, security template. If I click this one, it's telling me nothing is defined on this machine. And that is true because I just installed it, right? But the new template I've just created, nothing here too. And you can go round and round and you can see nothing is defined here, but see this new security template I have here, this is already configured. And you can see on and on like that. If I am satisfied with the new template, I can go right here and say configure computer now. You understand? And what will it do? It will immediately apply all these settings on my computer. Is that clear? Now, these you can only do on only one system. In case you do not know where this template is located, you can see user document security templates. You can even copy it. You know what I'm saying? You can save as and go to your desktop. If you want to, put it on your drive C. Go over here and save it. It's an information file. Okay? Again, these you can only do on one computer. But what if I want, that's a template. It's a text file. In case you want to look at it. You can open with a text file later if you want. Look at this. What if I want to apply this security setting on a lot of machines, not just one? I'm going to save that file here, paste it, and here is it. See, that's my security template. I can even open it with a notepad, and you can view what is inside that thing. See? See that? So what if I ask you in your exam to create a security template, password 25, complexity rule, log on locally for administrator? What would you do? You will simply go on a workstation and do what I've just done. After you generate your template, copy it outside, and if I ask you, after looking at the template, apply it on the entire domain. Well, you cannot do that here because this is just one machine. You will come to your domain controller, okay? And I'm going to copy this thing. I'll put it over here, paste it. Here's my domain controller. And here is my tools here. And you want to go to your group policy management. When I click my group policy management, here is my domain. Okay, here is Perkins. If I want to apply it to everybody on the domain, here is my default domain policy. Okay, I can simply right click and edit it. And when I edit it, I will have two major components to edit. The number one is computer configuration. Number two is user configuration. If I want to do this for the computer, I can just go over here, Windows settings. And now you have a couple of security options to do. Similar to what you had earlier on, just a little bit different. And now you can import. You see this here? You can then go and import a template. If you have a template, you can grab these. You understand? And if you import that template, you can then go ahead and apply it. Does that make any sense? I'll just import a template into this place. Now, be careful, because whatever it is you do at this point, you're doing it on your entire domain. You can really mess yourself up. Does that make any sense? And at this point, you will have only yourself to blame. You can see 24, right? See the thing that I did earlier on, because I had imported security template. You understand? So this is what you would do if I were to ask you in the exam and say you have this kind of concern. There's kind of like a disparity in terms of security configuration on your host system across the domain. You want to kind of push out this XYZ. You want to create a security template in case you want to use it later. You know, you create that security template, test it on a client system. You kind of make sure it is what you want, and then you can go back and do this. Now, if I want to do that, I can then close this one. So I've already created this and close this one out, and I'll right click the template and I'll click enforce. You understand? If I click enforce now, automatically this PC, this Windows 7, this client, the next time it logs out and logs back in, the policy that I set on the domain controller will be applicable to all the machines that logged onto my domain.
You have to hit enforce in order to do that?
Yes. I have to hit enforce. I have to get over here, and I'm recording this video so you will watch it later and see. That's why I recorded it, because you know it's a little bit difficult to follow it the first time you're watching it. So I have to right click this and go to enforce. And once I enforce it, then it will be, and I'm doing it on the domain. If I don't want it to affect everybody on the domain, I could have created a subset on the domain and applied to that. But because I'm doing it on the domain, it will affect every machine on the domain. Because whatever I do at the group policy for the Perkins domain will, you know, be pushed all the way down to every machine on that domain.
Do you import multiple templates? Does it pull in only the stuff that you've changed, or does it?
It will just
overwrite everything?
It will just continue to, you know, add on. It will kind of more like stacked.
Okay.
As long as they're not,
Password stuff one time and then something else the next time, and they'll.
it will just be this. Yeah. So for example, if I set up, I'm going to have to stop this now. So everybody get this right? Great. Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording at this point.